Hello everybody, this is DKG's Avos, and I have for you today a 1v1 match, and I don't know. I have no idea how this started. I don't know how I got invited to this, but I'm here, you're over there, and we are ready to go. So, now that we are loaded up, let's get our production tab going, and our nameplates. So, in the upper left-hand corner, while we're deciding whether or not we need to remake, we have Dunning-Kruger Gaming's Erpman. And man, the palette on this, I have to zoom this in again. Look how gold that looks. It's fantastic how gold that is. It's weird to me how the different color palettes end up actually modifying how everything looks. Everything might get washed out, might be more true to color. So, in the upper right-hand corner on the map that I've never seen except for the one time that I played on it earlier today, this is Rekatan. And apparently we might be pausing here for a moment, just to be sure that everything is going pretty well. So, how is everybody? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. We do have a ZVP on our hands. And again, I have no idea what this map is called. But it looks like we are ready to go. Going to get back in the game. Rekatan trying to sort some things out. Maybe his keyboard. Maybe his mouse is going a little funny. And so it looks like he is gone for the extractor trick there. Trying to get one extra one out. He's got an overlord on the way. And it looks like Erpman is going for a Forge Fast Expand as he would normally do in a ZVP. But there are destructible rocks on this backside, so it's a pretty easy to secure natural. I mean, you can see the choke right here. Not really that tough to deal with as a Protoss player. Erpman deciding that he's going to go for the wider bit just a little bit. But that does give him a little more free range to deal with a few different things. He's going to scout everything out, making sure that pool is a regular timing instead of a fast pool or something. Overlord going to have a decent amount of ways to go across, because I mean, you look how long this entire map is. Going across is going to take quite a while. But Rekatan, not knowing whatever is going down, he hasn't scouted out quite yet. He doesn't know that the forge is down, but he wants to make sure that he's got the spawning pool down before he goes ahead and expands, just to make sure that he's not going to get cannon rushed or anything. Now, looking around this map just a little bit, you can see that there is that pretty small area right here with a lot of choke points where, I mean, you've got your natural expansion pretty easy to secure. There is that back set of rocks down there. And then you've got your third base, which is also fairly easy to secure just because this choke point is so small. And, I mean, your biggest worry right here is the back rocks. And then, I mean, if they take those down, you've got another set of expansions, which I imagine would be desperation attempt in any case, because you don't really want to expand right there next to your opponent. We do have pylons and gateways and one cannon going on the way with a natural expansion down pretty quick. And you can see right there the timing on that. Erpman actually looks like he got his down just that little bit faster almost. And so Erpman is going ahead and expanding. Basically the same timing, we'll just call it as good as the same. Got a couple Zerglings that are trying to get a little bit of map control. See what's going on, poke around a little bit. They might be on the rocks is what it looks like. They're on the attack move to check out those rocks. They're going to be at that for quite a while, and Erpman is going to be able to scout that. He's going to be able to see that there's a little bit of damage done, especially if he's got damaged units on his viewing. And so now we've got pretty good Overlord spread for what's going on right now. An Overlord up in the base, trying to make sure that he gets out of there just in time, because there is no cybernetics core, so he knows nothing's going to be really attacking it yet. Because there's a cyber core right there, and you can't build anything that shoots up until after you've got that. Any units, anyway. I mean, cannons, yes, they can shoot up, but those are kind of static defense, so I don't think those really count at the moment. A little interesting for me, seeing that Rekatan chooses that base as opposed to this base here for his natural expansion. I just feel like this one's a little easier to secure, especially going across. But if you've got a Protoss that does go air as much as Erpman might, this might be a little bit more dangerous, and expanding out a little bit further might be the way to go. So whether he knows what Erpman's typical builds are or not is yet to be determined. I don't know if Erpman plays against Rekatan fairly frequently. Again, I just kind of got pulled into this, so I have no idea what's going on. But decent amount going on. I'd like to see Rekatan go ahead and go for a third base before putting down the double gases. Because, I mean, right now he hasn't mined basically any gas at all. And he's going for 4 gases, so this is a little bit risky right now. I mean, decent amount of queens, doing a pretty good job on the creep, on the injects here. Really good job on the local creep spread. And it looks like he's going to be able to just keep going with that. Zergling's trying not to get shot at by this one stalker. Throwing this Overlord in, trying to scout everything out. I'm not sure if this Overlord knew that he was on basically a suicide path over there, but he did end up changing his ways and repenting. But too little too late. He's going to go down. This Overlord over here, let's see what he's seen so far. He's seen that there is a Cyber Core here. There's a Mothership Core shooting down those Zerglings, so they're not going to be able to get anything else down. But, I mean, not a whole lot is going down for him. He's going to be able to see that that pylon is going out and around. I mean, the Overlord's still alive, and that Stalker's going to try and shoot him out. But Rekatan should be able to keep up his creep spread pretty well. I mean, and this is just kind of a funky map to try and do that on. I mean, you've got these areas right here where, I mean, pretty favorable engagements maybe for Zerg, just because there are a bunch of areas where you can try and get surrounds coming around. And a few blind spots. You do have that watchtower there, but destroying these rocks right here would really be favorable for a late game Zerg army. Just to make sure that you get those decent surrounds. A few doodads here and there. Mothership Core going to go out and scout around. Just do a little bit of harassing around here. Shoot at that hatchery. Maybe get this queen a little distracted. Keep it from doing proper creep spread. Erpman going to go ahead and take that Mothership Core out. Doing a pretty good job on both sides here. It's a little turtley, but, I mean, being such an awkward map, this isn't one on the ladder pool. This isn't one that most people normally play. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that everybody's being just that little bit turtley. A lot of queens out right now. You can see Ford just down on that one base alone. Probably going to send one up to his third base and one back up to his main. But I think it was just a little defensive, thinking there was some sort of push coming, and wanting to make sure that nothing else was coming. But here's the push that's coming through. It's just going to be a little poke. And it looks like Erpman's checking this area specifically. As you can see right there, that one little check. He wants to make sure that there's nothing else coming. No bases there or anything. Zerglings are going across the map as they've got Zergling speed. Void Ray has revealed itself. And the kind of thing that Erpman wants to do with that sort of thing is he wants to show the Zerg player that he's going air. He wants to show them that the Void Rays are out, and he wants to make sure that they kind of react to it in a particular way, because it does bait, in a lot of cases, it'll bait Hydralisk. And Hydralisk will basically do pretty well, and it forces the Zerg player into exactly what Erpman wants them in. And so while we've got Swarm Host coming, yes, Swarm Host will be able to do a lot of damage. They have a lot of DPS. But I mean, because they don't shoot up, all Erpman is going to need is an Observer or even an Oracle. I mean, we know that he's already got the Stargates out, just because, I mean, he's got Void Rays. There's the Robo going down right now. Erpman is going basically straight into Colossus Tech, if any of his previous matches have been an indication for this. Now Queens are seeing that those are fake Phoenix, and so now Erpman is going to just continue scouting around. He's gotten basically no threat off, but he sees the Swarm Host, so he's going to have to start building some sort of an Observer before he goes into Colossus Tech. We've got 2 Robos on the way, going to be able to double pump everything out. Let's look at the Structures tab real quick, and we'll see that we only have 1 Stargate right now, and that's it. So opening up the Production tab, we do have Night Swarm on the way. We'll see how Erpman is going to deal with that. What this is going to allow, obviously, is this Swarm Host to get across the map quite a bit sooner. With the Queens out and about, he's going to be able to have that creep spread basically knocking at Erpman's door almost immediately. And we do have Enduring Locust, I want to remind everybody. And let's check the upgrades real quick. It's 0-0. So Erpman should still have a little bit of an advantage here, because he's got, you know, the ability to shoot down, and these things don't have the ability to shoot up. So as long as he stays pretty well walled in, he's going to lose a few things, but he's going to have to eat some of that just a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see how Erpman deals with this a little bit, because there are a lot of Queens and there are a lot of Swarm Hosts. This could deal with it pretty well. Swarm Host alone not going to be able to deal with it very well, but Queens with all those transfuses, although Queens do not DPS very hard, Those transfuses keep them alive just long enough to keep everything going. So Rekatan going ahead and making more Swarm Hosts, keeping them going. He does have the 1-1 now on the way. Extended Thermal Lance is now on the way for Erpman, and we've got double pumping Colossus going out. And we've got another Nidus Worm coming out just to make sure that he's going to get everything out just as quickly as possible. It's going to aid in the creep spread just a little bit as well. And we do have Void Rays trying to do as much as they can. Didn't save that other gateway, but they're going to try as hard as they can to save all this. They are light units, the Locust, and so although Void Rays do a lot of damage very quickly, they aren't doing the maximum amount of damage because they're not armored units. Disappointing indeed. So we get a 3-base Protoss against a 3-base Zerg. Swarm Hosts have kind of leveled the playing field in that regard, that it's a lot easier to stay even bases with your opponent if you have Swarm Hosts, because you've got something that DPS is pretty hard, and you've got something that can tank a lot of damage in the Locust. Yeah, Locusts don't have a whole lot of HP, but they are going to be able to tank a lot of damage just because there are so many of them. And we see Nidus Worms going around basically everywhere right now. I'm going to have to turn down the audio just a little bit really quickly because everything seems just that little bit loud in my headset, and I don't want to deafen anybody out there. So we do have a 4th base on the way. We do have a lot of Swarm Hosts. This is almost the amount of Swarm Hosts that it's kind of hard to come back from. We do have a lot of Colossus out. We do still have Colossus being produced 2 at a time, but nothing is coming out of the Stargate right now until right when I say something, and of course that's when you want to have stuff come out. So we have Colossus, we have Void Rays, we have Stalkers. Stalkers do not yet have Blink, but I imagine they will try to have it at some point in the near future. We do have a bunch of Queens trying to transfuse quite a bit. We have force fields going down, protecting from the Locust, keeping them back as far as they can. Double layering that force field just a little bit, but misses this one little corner, so they're getting a little bit of DPS there in the corner. Swarm Host, decent amount, trying to come out and about, and they're recoiling a little bit. You can see that there are a few in the red and the orange, but unfortunately these Locusts for Rekatan not doing the damage that they needed to do just yet. So we've got Spore Crawlers trying to hold the line as well as they can. We've got Hydras that aren't doing a whole lot against the Colossus because they're bunching up way too well. Nidus goes down, and it looks like Rekatan going to be able to wreck a little bit of Erpman's Stalkers. Colossus firing from the back, doing as much as they can to try and DPS the Locust away. Blink is finally done, blinking away from the Locust, but getting right into the Queens. All those Stalkers going down. Void Rays going down left and right. Colossus are basically the only thing left. Queens are out of energy, and so they have to basically just die there. Stalker's going to have to blink forward and tank some of the damage for this Colossus. This Colossus is surely going to go down, but he barely saves it just in the nick of time. We have another Nidus coming down, basically going to take these rocks down. Going to be able to push everything back. Erpman going forward, doing a really good job pushing everything back. I really like how he handled that. Nidus Worm positioning, doing really well. He's got positioning basically everywhere he wants to. The Stalkers with their blink trying to stay on that high ground away from the Locust as well as they can. There goes that one weakened Colossus with 17 health and 17 shields. Still alive somehow. It must be some sort of miracle. Magnets, how do they work? Locusts in huge numbers right now. And Rekatan doing a really good job microing back and forth with these Swarm Hosts. Every time there's a volley, he's going to bring them up and move them back a little bit further. It delays this push just a little bit more, but unfortunately it does delay the Locust just that little bit. He's doing a lot of free damage to all these Stalkers, and it's making Erpman have to keep warping everything in, but these Colossus are still slowly gaining ground. They're going to be able to take out this hatchery basically with ease, and there we go. The Broodlings trying to do as much as they could, but barely getting within earshot. And this Observer trying as hard as it can to find where in the world are these things. And, I mean, man, the creep spread just going all the way across the map. Once he drops these rocks, he's going to have free access basically anywhere that he wants. One Swarm Host going down. Blink Stalkers in so few numbers anymore. Hydra's trying to flank from behind. Colossus is going to have to retreat. There's not a whole lot they're going to be able to do. Two Colossus go down, but it's still not the weakened one from earlier. Storm's coming down against all these Locusts, wasting a lot of energy. There goes one more Colossus. One more weakened Colossus is left. We finally took out that weak one from earlier. And I mean, Swarm Host Locusts just everywhere. And now we have Vipers on the map. This could be the beginning of the end for Erpman. I mean, he's just going to need a lot to help him out here. I would say that Dark Templar drops would be the best thing for him, because just looking around, yeah, we've got a few of the Spore Crawlers, but there's not a whole lot that would be able to deal with Dark Templar at the moment. And, I mean, especially as far as detection, there's not a whole lot. And they do tell you that once you start seeing Swarm Hosts, the best thing that you need to take advantage of is mobility. And, I mean, just look at the bases around here. There's not Spore Crawlers everywhere around the map because he hasn't had any threat of any DTs. There was basically that one Spore Crawler right here at the third base. And now we've got Locusts going around trying to keep map presence all over. And Erpman's been forced to build Zealots, and Zealots are not the ideal unit for this kind of composition. They are both almost maxed out, but the thing for Rekatan to remember is that he's maxed out on basically Swarm Hosts, which are just constantly regenerating units. And looking at it, I mean, he's got 2-1, and he's got 3-2 on the way. More Phoenix, yeah, more Void Razor on the way, and Zealots are starting to melt really quickly to these Locusts. And I mean, just a little bit of micro here, and we've got full energy Vipers that are going to be able to pull Colossus into this Hydra mess. We've got Colossus for backup. Yoink Micro coming in. Colossus going down really quickly. I heard a few feedbacks going down on these Vipers, so he only got 2 Yoinks in there. But looking at how much damage was done to these Vipers, we still have one with full health right here. Corruptors are here just to try and take out as many of these Colossus as possible. But the Void Rays are going to be able to do a lot of damage. Storm's going down on the Colossus and as well on the Locust right there. Void Rays are trying as best as they can to dance with these Corruptors and take them out as best they can. And, I mean, you can see that the Colossus are just forced to back up, derping a little bit on this corner. Defensive Storms, and one Colossus goes down really quickly. And these High Templar are basically out of energy. They've got enough for feedback, but that doesn't take a whole lot. More Nidus Worms going down, trying to push everything forward. And now we see DTs moving out across the map. But, I mean, not having drops, not having any sort of movement. Now we've got observers with the army, and he knows the DTs are out. That is not a good thing for Erpman. We wanted to drop those across as opposed to making just DTs. But, oh man. Swarm Hosts are just going to keep pushing across the map. Timing out just in time, these Zealots with a huge sigh of relief. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my golly. I thought I was dead. And then unfortunately for the Zealots not being warped back into Ire, they had their time, and now it is done. Gonna have to do something about these Locusts, Erpman, otherwise you are as good as dead. D-E-D, dead. We do have a lot of Colossus. We've got a decent amount of Blink Stalkers in here. Another Nidus Canal going down, but that's going to be taken out really quickly because you cannot cancel those. If those get spotted, they are as good as done for because there's nothing you can do about it. And, I mean, look at this Zerg Death Ball. It's really weird to think about Zerg having a Death Ball, but this is as close as it gets. We've got Blink Stalkers, no Blink Micro going back. Colossus just taking putting a lot of hurt on those Locusts, and these Stalkers are just taking all the hits that they can. Gonna have to blink back to get away from all these Locusts. We need to push back this creep threat as Protoss players. But I mean, Zerg doing a great job over here. That's why there's not a whole lot to talk about at the moment. The only thing that I can suggest is getting rid of these drones, making them go back to work. Spine Crawlers now, and you saw that once he saw all those DTs, Spore Crawlers now down at basically every base. You can see a Spine and a Spore here, a Spine and a Spore there, which were there earlier. And this base, although it's got all the tech, doesn't have a whole lot of mining units. So he's not too worried about it. And now we're going up to, we've got Hive Tech and a Greater Spire on the way. Now that he's already got the Corruptors out, he's going to be able to turn those into Broodlords if he keeps them alive, but the Void Rays are taking them all out. Storm's going down basically everywhere. Observers trying to do all the observing, and they can see basically all these Swarm Hosts right here, and Erpman going to be able to do a great job pulling everything out, but I think this was basically a sacrificial army from our Zerg player. He wants to change everything that he's got. Blinding Cloud goes down, and now Erpman is not able to shoot as far as he wants to. Keep some of these Swarm Hosts alive because they're going to be annoying as all get out. Colossus now, I mean, Colossus count significantly reduced. You can see right here that there's only 4 of them. And let's look at the army. You can see that Erpman, although he's in the lead right now, looking at the production tab, he's got a lot more swarm hosts, and that Greater Spire is almost done. So maybe not a sacrificial army, but he does have a huge bank right now. Even right now, after building this many swarm hosts, he's still got a decent amount of bank. And we do have Archons out on the map. They're going to be able to tank a little bit of damage. But against Locusts, they really don't tank as much as you would hope. And the Locusts are going to give chase. It looks like Erpman trying to avoid them as best as he can, waiting for them to time out just a little bit. And now we're blinking forward into this mass of spine crawlers. But unfortunately, right behind it is a wall of swarm hosts. And Storm goes out on top of the Locust, trying to make sure that everything is going down as quickly as possible, trying to lose as few units as possible. Energy for free units, not exactly the best trade-off there. I mean, there are a decent amount of High Templar, but he just doesn't have enough to waste storms like that. Yeah, he saved his army, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, just, wow, never mind. Look at all this creep spread. Creep everywhere. Game has been pretty back and forth. I'd still like to see our Zerg player knock these walls down and just be a little bit better for him, especially with this Nidus Canal right here. And it looks like our Zerg player is going to try and push forward. Protoss wants to keep this kind of thing in a choke, make sure that he's got everything surrounded pretty well. So many Colossus in the back doing a lot of damage. These Void Rays are unable to push forward like they want to, just because there's not a whole lot that they're going to be able to do. And, I mean, Rekatan doing a great job taking out basically everything. Colossus going down left and right. You can see that's free damage going down. Yes, I mean, look at all these swarm hosts. I just don't know if Erpman's got the ability to handle this right now. Don't think the club can handle me right now. They're the Broodlords that we called for earlier. And I mean, with this many Void Rays on the map, normally I would say, hey, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Because, I mean, the swarm hosts are armored. Your Vipers are armored. Your Broodlords are armored. The only thing that's not armored in this mashup are the Queens, which are just straight biological. There aren't even any Hydras left, are there? Let's look at the units tab and see if we can find any Hydras out here. I don't see a one up there. Production tab. There are 4 Dark Templars on the map, though. Nidus Network going really close to Erpman's base. And, I mean, looking at Erpman's units, he's got a couple Archons. He's got 6 Colossus, which are holding the high ground there. And as long as there's no observation over here, these DTs should be able to do some work. And he's got enough observers in his army. Archon going to do his best to try and tank everything from the front. And now Yoink Micro coming in. And Locust taking down 2 Colossus basically really quickly. And not a whole lot going down as far as observers. But I just heard a bunch of observers morphing. We got a lot of overseers right here. 6, count 'em, 6. A lot of observers. Gonna be able to do a lot of observing with that. Because he heard the DTs, he saw the DTs swiping around, saw everything kind of dying. There was one swarm host in that mix that kind of got lost just for no reason. Erpman's going to have to do something with these High Templars, whether he's storming right on top of the swarm host. Because right now, with swarm host burrowed, yeah, it's going to take about 3 storms to do it. But, you know what? That 3 storms is better than dealing with 30 swarm hosts. 3 storms better than 30 swarm hosts. Wasting the storms on the free units, not exactly the most ideal thing to do, just because they're going to keep respawning faster than you're going to regen any energy. Now it looks like a Nidus Canal going into nearly the main base of Erpman. Didn't have to drop those rocks after all. We do still have a bunch of Broodlords out and about, trying to make sure that they're doing a whole lot. And it looks like these swarm hosts being a little bit indecisive as far as where they want to be. I mean, yeah, we've got that Nidus network, but not a whole lot we're going to be able to do with it. There are only 3 swarm hosts in there. And there's one Colossus that's just going to run right by. Got Void Rays. We're no longer double pumping because we can't afford it. But it looks like Colossus trying to do as much damage to those destructible plates as possible. Looks like we're going to lose one Colossus almost immediately. But saved by the bell, just barely. And warping everything in. Looks like he's got a little bit of vision on these swarm hosts. No, he doesn't. No, he has no vision on that. Colossus and Void Rays trying to do as much as they can over here on this side of the map. But, I mean, this may be too great for Erpman to handle. There's the Yoink Micro. And, I mean, with this many Void Rays, I don't know if you really want to be pulling the Void Rays in, but doing a lot of transfusing on the Hydras, which, wow, transfusing Hydras, let me tell you, that is a difficult task just because Hydras have less HP than a Locust does. And Corruptor's going ahead and using their corruption ability on the Void Rays. Looks like this is just a matter of waiting for the GG for Erpman. It was a really well played game, but there's the GG. Good job, Rekatan. Because let me tell you, Erpman is not an easy opponent to defeat. Has something like 70% win rate against Zerg.